Hey, what's up? How you doing? I want to know about you guys. So, I'm starting this video off a little bit differently. I want to know about you. So, before we get completely started with everything, comment below how you're doing. I want to know how you've been, some goals you might have. We've been living in a weird time, and I want to know what you're doing. You know, it's interesting, all the stuff going on right now, and I want to kind of help push you guys. So this video is actually a podcast from my friend Abigail. We recorded this back in March, and we had it posted all across social media, on Spotify, a couple podcasting sites, and it's pretty much my life leading into becoming a magician, my life through college, and just kind of the struggles I've been going through and overcoming. And some stuff, last year, around a little bit over a year and a half ago, I made a depression video, and I was a little bit embarrassed about it, but you know what? It was something I needed to get out there, and I feel that people just need to be more open about how they're feeling. I feel like everybody's just too afraid to show their side, like show their emotion, because of the fear of being judged. And I just want this to be a safe place. My channel's a safe place. I want you guys to feel comfortable. I do magic. It's the impossible. And I just want you to believe that anything is possible. And I want this to be, again, your safe place. I want to help you pursue what you want to do and support you in what you want to do. You guys are awesome. I'm happy that I can do something that everybody enjoys, and everybody can just, they can take something from it. They can do magic. They can just be amazed. Every week you come here to see me, and I want to just take part in a little bit of your life and just see how your life is. So please comment below, and let's get into the video or the podcast.
You're listening to the Hearts Unleashed podcast, where we firmly believe that love is the answer and we are spreading it like wildfire. You're invited to come spend time with us in authentic connection, growth, reflection, and celebration. Life coach, author, and speaker Abigail Gazda will be sharing amazing humans living their hearts unleashed to inspire you to do the same. You will hear from men, women, and young people from all industries sharing their insights and inspiration as they have paved their way to their fullest lives. Here at the Hearts Unleashed podcast, we are turning dreamers into doers. So if you are ready to open your heart and take inspired action on your dreams, you are in the perfect place with wonderful people. Here's your host, dreamer, educator, and adventurer, Abigail Gazda.
Hey, you guys, you are tuning into the Hearts Unleashed podcast, where we are turning dreamers into doers. And we have a very interesting guest today. Keelan Wendorf is a magician, and we're going to dive in. But I actually know Keelan back from Indiana, back in my heyday. We went to the same school, and it's so much fun to connect with alumni or former students, and not former students, former classmates, to be able to share what they're up to, because it's really, really fun when they reach out to me and they're like, hey, see you out there doing your thing. Way to go. Super inspirational. We're from a small town in Indiana, Whiting, Indiana, the little city by the lake. And very often, if you're a listener, you may relate that very often a lot of people from town stay, which is cool, and it's fine, and it's wonderful. And you can make a career and a life and grow from it. Because from Indiana, what I'm very present to is the normal thing to do is to go to college and then get a 9-to-5 job, right? And so
Correct.
Keelan he's still hanging out in Indiana, and I love that. And I love that you have a career that isn't so inside the box. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your unleashed heart. We're so excited to have you.
No problem.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, well, actually, I want to start with a question. What do you call yourself besides magician?
That's actually always like a thing. People are like, oh, you do music? What do you play? I'm like, no, magic. I do the cards. No, I do a little bit of comedy with it, but I would say I'm more of a businessman currently. I'm trying to get the ropes down with what I'm doing. Primarily when I do live shows, I'm trying to get more merch out there. So what it is I'm trying to balance the end of that And the interesting aspect right now is I'm currently working a 9 to 5 job, like you said, while trying to balance performing. So it's trying to get to the point of, okay, how do we manage this business, which doesn't have necessarily a physical product? So how do we make steady income off of it while still trying to manage, this 9 to 5, but eventually move on to just being a performer full time? And that's kind of like the struggle right now. I've been using a lot of Square products, which are really awesome. It makes it easy on me. So it's not like you need to go in depth with a lot, but I'm working on being pushed towards the CEO element. I did go to college to be, I actually wanted to be a weatherman, which is funny.
A what? A weatherman. So you're definitely an entertainer and performer through and through. Keep going.
Yes. So, because honestly, if anybody's going to get the weather right, it should be a magician, right?
I think it is definitely magic, whatever's involved in that.
So, like when I was younger, I used to want a storm chase, and it just turned into, well, maybe I can be weatherman. And eventually it just turned into sportscasting. I ended up being a sportscaster for the Railcats over in Gary.
I remember that.
So that was fun, but it was the fact of I want to branch myself out once I have a definite kind of mark in being a businessman in magic to, okay, we have, I have a YouTube channel. How can I have pretty much my style, which is street magic, a little bit of comedy, and take that and teach others, hey, this is how you shoot video for this, how to get over. Because the one thing that's an issue for me, which, being from Indiana, there's not a lot of people to perform around when you do street magic. The best thing's probably the mall. So a lot of the time I go to Chicago and I'll walk around downtown Chicago. Well, the issue with Chicago is, and I don't mean this in like the most negative way possible, but comparatively to the rest of the country, Chicago's kind of rude. So when you're like, hey, you guys want to see some magic? People kind of shrug their shoulder and walk away.
Yeah, like, no, I ain't got time for that.
Everybody's got, like, I got places to be, I got stuff to do. And it's like, nobody wants to stop. And then you get the people that are like tourists. They're like, oh my God, cool. So it's the fact of, okay, how do you take rejection and kind of push it towards, well, this person might, it's funny because a lot of my friends, we actually play a game it's just called Magic, but it's pretty much horse from basketball. So what we'll do is we'll get a couple magician friends together. And this is the best thing ever because this really tests you. Your friend has to pick who you're performing for, and you have to perform for them. If they reject you or the trick goes wrong, mostly it's rejections. But if the trick goes wrong or you get rejected, you get a letter.
Nice.
And whoever spells out magic first loses. And then we go into, which this is a really long game. We'll leave at 7 a.m. We'll be playing until 9.
Okay, so I'm loving this because we just had an episode come out called number 126. It's learning to hear no while still being a hell yes to life. And, you literally make a game out of hearing no. And I think it's phenomenal because, you're working a 9 to 5, but you're working on also becoming a full-time entrepreneur and business owner and CEO. This is speaking straight into the hearts of the people that listen here because people have these dreams and still are in a 9 to 5, still in a relationship that doesn't serve them or, still living in a place that doesn't serve them. And so they have these big dreams, but they're not ready, willing, or able to get started. And so it takes something. Go ahead.
Okay. So currently, I just got out of a 5-year relationship that didn't put me in the right place. So I got out of that, met somebody new. And I feel like you have to kind of look at yourself and say, hey, this isn't what I want to be. And you got to realize this is one shot in life, okay? You have to come up to yourself and say, hey, this isn't working. Mutually get out of it because it doesn't have to be rough. I feel like getting out of things that can be rough, you can mutually do these things. You just got to communicate because you have to realize that it's not working. And don't force something that isn't working to try to make it right because you can't change other people. And obviously, the biggest thing about being an entertainer, even an entrepreneur, I would just say entrepreneur in general, doesn't have to be an entertainer. Being an entrepreneur, you're going to spend a lot of time alone, but you know what you want best. So you have to run with that.
Yeah.
So it's the issue of pretty much finding what you want, even if it's alone, and don't be afraid to be alone.
Yeah. And I'm loving what you dropping knowledge. Keep going.
But another thing too, is with the 9 to 5, majority of people look at it negatively. Currently, like I'm in transition right now where I want to make more out of my career as a entertainer. But the main thing that people need to realize when you're on that come up, say you're coming out of college, okay? You're like, I want to start a business. I want to go for it. Get that 9 to 5, suck it up a bit, and use that money to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to just dive in and then just like hit your face on the way in. You want to kind of like, you know, save up a bit of money. You know, like I was speaking like earlier, you know, if you have a product, get Square. I mean, you can literally go online, get a card reader for free, or you can even go to like, you know, Best Buy or whatever and get the little like chip reader for like $20, and you're going to make a lot of money off that little thing. And it just links up to your phone and it's perfect.
Yeah. Well, and I really love what you're sharing, because I think in what I call social media syndrome and in this world is that people think, oh, the second I open my doors, it's going to be a grand success and everyone's going to come flooding in and I'm going to make all this money. No. And like that Instagram influencer curated grid life is a complete false thing. And so I think a lot of people fool themselves about what it looks like to get started. And then there's a difference between getting started and getting successful. And so I love that you're sharing this, because I too, as I was growing, I became a life coach. This is my 4-year anniversary, February, right? And, or well, just passed, but so 4 years in, and it took till year 3 to be profitable, like truly profitable. And it's still the case, right? Like I'm writing my next book right now, and there's still money that has to go into it. And if your business is not set up to provide you the money you need, and it takes starting with a 9 to 5 and easing your way out of it, it's very natural. And I think that too many people feel like a failure if they're not an instant success. But that's just so false.
I feel like with like you're saying, when you're beginning, I mean, even now I'm doing shows with like people I never would have thought of. Like I grew up watching wrestling, and I'm doing magic comedy shows with people that my parents watched.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's overwhelming. But the thing is that you have to take the negative, because obviously you're going to fail every day, but don't take failure as a sense of I lost. Take it as I'm learning from this and moving on from that. You know, for me, every show's different. You know, the crowd does things every night that's different. And it's like, okay, this happened this night. Mm-hmm. How do I learn from this so that next show this doesn't happen? Or how do I learn how to be funny from the crowd? Things from each show that I take that I put in where it's like, okay, each show gets better. I'm more personable, because the biggest thing is to relate with whoever you're talking to. You don't want to just sit like, you want people to know who you are, but you want to relate with them as well.
You know, it's kind of funny because even though you're still growing and building what you're building, you've been doing this for a minute and you've had some very notable success. And it's nice that you're humble and all, but tell us a little bit about your magic journey. How long have you been doing this, and what sort of things have you come across?
All right. So we're going to start from the way beginning.
Yes,
so I started, first time I ever saw magic was in the 1st grade in elementary school in the Whiting. And a magician came in, and I was really terrified. I was like, you know, he invited me on stage, and I was like, no, not me. But I went up on stage, and I ended up he gave me a bag and pretty much put a silk in the bag, had me shake it, and it disappeared from the bag and it appeared on the other side of the stage. And then it kind of went back and forth. And I sat down after the trick, and after the entire show, he invites me back up, and he's like, here, I want you to keep this. And it was a 50-cent piece, a $50. And from there, I don't know why, it just sparked something in me. I was like, you know, out of all the people here, this kind of was like a cool moment for me. Mm-hmm. So then the next day, I looked at my mom, was like, hey, can I get some magic stuff? So we ended up going to the dollar store, and they had these little dollar magic kits, which looking back at it, it's funny and cute looking at like the stuff they have, which I really want to do a YouTube video where I go back and do those tricks.
Yes.
Now. Yes. But I ended up learning from that, and I kind of fell off. I was doing like stuff for like friends and family, but it wasn't like anything big until middle school. I feel like there was a huge gap from 1st grade to middle school, where it's kind of like, do I want to do this? Do I not? You know, there's so much stuff going on during that time. But around middle school, I had a mentor, which I think the biggest thing in today's light is to always have somebody as a mentor to look up to. And during this time, they were getting me over my fear of interacting with people on the street, on stage. I ended up having a mentor that I met. His name's Dave. He lives in Vegas now, but he used to live down the street from me.
Yeah.
And what happened was, normally if you're from Whiting, you knew both of us probably would be walking around usually. But what happened was he would help me get over my fear. Like we'd go to like beggars in Whiting and he'd be like, hey, this is Keelan. He's going to do a trick for you. And I'd be like, wait, what? So he wouldn't tell me what he was doing. Even in stage shows, my mom used to drive me to stage shows. Like we used to help Dave like set up for shows, and Dave would have me open, but he wouldn't tell me I was opening. So he'd sit there and be like, hey, I got a special treat for you guys. We got Keelan here. He's a new magician. He's going to be starting off. And I just, honestly, the biggest thing is falling on your face sometimes. Because you need to fall on your face. I feel like it's kind of like skateboarding. If you fall a couple times, you get back up and get on it, and you know not to do that. So it's that getting over the fear of that is the best part, because there's a lot of times where I've fallen, and it's looking back at it, I like enjoy that I can laugh at it.
I want to say something about that, because you are right. I know that like I have a videographer and we joke all the time about, we're going to laugh about this one day. We're going to laugh about this one day when we make a big money mistake or an editing mistake, or like it just ain't picking up this month. And there's days and weeks and months where it just doesn't feel good. Or like you said, you fall on your face and it's like, oh God, I don't know if I can go on. And so what do you want to say to people who are falling on their face? They're trying, especially in our kind of industry where you need to be known. You need to just be in front of more and more people. And so that's a challenge. But what do you have to say to someone who's trying to do something like that and hit their face against different walls?
All right. So the first thing is obviously when you initially do this, you're kind of in a state of shock. You're like, that's not what I wanted to do. You're kind of just scared. You don't know how to move forward from it. But the best thing is to just take a step back, take a breath, figure out where you're going. And first off, sometimes you can laugh at yourself, depending on what's happened. Other times, just reevaluate your situation. Figure out, why didn't this work? Or what happened here that I shouldn't do, and kind of run with that.
I love it, because I think that when we do fail, we fail to see past it. And so we very much make it the end of the world and start to attach a lot of a meaning to it. And it really just kills the momentum or kills the desire. And like, you're someone who, like, you're right. When I think of Keelan, I think of magic, period. It's since like middle school. Right. And so it's really funny, because I think if I were to find out you weren't doing magic, I'd be like, wait a minute, what happened? And so I think that we have these things that are in our hearts. And you have been someone I've watched follow through on what's in your heart for literally decades now. And there are people who have things on their heart who are not following through. And what would you like to say to someone who's in that area?
First things first is there's a generated kind of concept in your head of how things are going to be. You think you're going to walk in, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. And none of that happens. So get that out of your mind, that you think that when you walk into a situation, everything's going to go as planned, because it never does. Yeah. You got to sit there and roll with the punches, but also be prepared for anything. So that like my biggest thing about, even doing shows is, show up like, and this applies for everything in life, whether you're doing like a job interview, show up, 15 to 30 minutes earlier, figure out where things are, and just have a basic knowledge of, hey, who is this person? And always address people by their name, get to know them, just shake their hand, hey, and know every little person, so hey, if I need this done, I'm not running all over the place or you're freaking out. Don't go in thinking that everything's going to go smoothly. There's like maybe like one thing out of the entire idea is going to work.
Yes. Well, it has to be present. I would love to share it with the community is unfulfilled expectations lead to upset. I'm going to say it one more time. Unfulfilled expectations lead to upset. And so if you can drop the expectation and just show up, here I am, here's my purpose, here's what I'm up to, and really just continue to come from purpose, then however it goes can actually be a success. And something else that I heard in what you shared was prepare. Prepare. And whatever that looks like in anyone's industry is just to be prepared.
I mean, even me, like I've been doing like I said, I've been doing magic since first grade. Yep. I will still sit down, and this is the funniest thing, I will sit in the corner booths while waiting for food, messing with playing cards, or just practicing on little things. And it's always just at random moments, take your downtime, whatever it is. If it's you're waiting for food, you're on, transit, focus on your craft. Don't use that time to mess around.
I love that. I really love that because I think, myself included, we're always waiting for that made it moment where we could finally relax. Like, oh God, I'm the success I wanted to be, right? Like practicing, showing up for your practice, showing up for your passion consistently and like constantly. I love what you said, fit it into the nooks and crannies, because especially if you're someone who is building a business on nights and weekends around your 9 to 5, like I have done that. I did that to start my business. And then I did that in the middle of my business when I was over my head and trying to figure out how to keep it all up. What were you going to say about that?
Oh, the one thing I wanted to say too is like, don't, the biggest issue I feel too when you're starting is you aim too high with your goals too. So say like I was going to do a YouTube video on this, but when it comes to your goals, make something where it's like, hey, today we need to do this.
Yeah.
At the end of this week, this needs to be done.
Yeah.
Don't just sit there and go, hey, we're going to accomplish, we're going to win this trophy.
Yeah.
Okay. What little things in between? Because honestly, like right now, working a 9 to 5 and performing, I have little time to do a lot. The biggest thing is, okay, today we're doing this, knock it out, let's get it done, and kind of push yourself in that. Because a lot of the times, if you and write it down, the biggest thing is write it down. If you just tell yourself, I'm going to do this today, you're not going to do it. You're going to procrastinate. You got to write it down. Honestly, go to like a dollar store, get a whiteboard, slap that on like your fridge or something, and write it down in big letters and be like, this is what we're doing today.
I'm so with you because we set up these, like you said, I'm gonna get that trophy, but that trophy represents every practice, every time that you put your shoes on, every game that you played, every sprint that you ran. And so, or, whatever the achievement looks like, there are so many things. And I don't know if you've seen the visual, a guy's up on stage and he's like juggling plates, but it's the back view where you can see the steps leading up to the stage and you can see the audience in front of him, and all leading the stairs up are a bunch of broken plates. Right. I love that visual so much because the audience only sees the success. And I want to bring it back to social media because you are only watching someone's success on display, not the years, the literal years, the sleepless nights, the thousands of dollars invested, like that people have put in to being the success that they are.
I feel like with social media, like I travel a lot to LA, so I go to VidCon every year. But one of the big things was social media puts way too much pressure on people sometimes. You need to take a step back from it. I used to try to upload every week. I haven't done anything on YouTube recently, but the issue is you put this idea in your head that you need to constantly be putting things out because of the algorithms and stuff. In all reality, you need to just be putting out stuff that makes you happy and things that you're ready. And another thing that you mentioned was, being kind of perfect on the internet, how you'd say. And the idea with that, I feel too, is sometimes, again, laugh at yourself, take that little, like if I'm shuffling cards and I accidentally drop the cards, put that little clip in so people are like, you messed up. So people think that like, okay, not everything is, because with video, you can make yourself look like the grandest thing ever. Allow yourself to laugh at yourself just a little bit.
Yeah, I love that because I'll tell you, there was at one point I wanted to get into photography more, so started watching YouTube photography, and it was just like, oh, I'll never be that. And it's so discouraging when, if you're watching things online, people do put up that perfect image and they spend that time to edit their videos to have it look clean and crisp, which is great. But we start to put that, like people that we maybe idolize or look up to as so perfect that I love what you said. Like, it's kind of like, I'm gonna get that trophy, but you don't look at every little milestone. And people want to go from being a 0 to a 10, and then they're not. They're stuck somewhere in that 2, 3 range of growth. And they're like, I'm not a 10. I'm not a 10. I'm not a 10. And for as long as you're telling yourself that, you're not being a 2 or 3, and the gradual growth is what's going to get anyone where they're going.
The issue like currently, like with me is, I want to get to, I've always wanted a YouTube play button. But the issue, and I always got to reassure myself sometimes, is why are you doing this? You're going towards it, but you kind of forget the passion of, hey, I just enjoy making videos. I enjoy doing magic. You kind of just start making these goals, but they're goals that put you in the wrong direction. They kind of frustrate you because it's like, I want this, and you're going too hard at doing it, and you forget why you're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Just allow that kind of goal to naturally come. Don't force it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love really, because it is great to start with the end in mind in the way that where, like, you don't want to get in a car with no destination, right? But at the same time, if you're only trying to get to the destination, you miss the views for sure. And often if you're driving anywhere across the country, there's great views. And so it's like, I get that way. So even with trying to be a New York Times bestseller, there are days that I forget why I'm writing, because I think of, how on earth am I going to sell 10,000 books? Right? Like, or how am I going to get my name out there in such a way that this catches fire? And so I get distracted. I call those the vanity metrics, right? It's great to have your YouTube channel be monetized. It's great. It is super great. It's very validating. And that's not why we show up. And so I'm with you. And I think that it's nice to, like you pointed it out, and it's great. There's goals, and goals have always been so, glamorized in the way that you should have goals. It's good to have goals. Successful people have goals. And you're like, oh, well, I better go get some goals then. Right. But you're chasing them just because you think it's a good thing to have goals and achieve something, as opposed to actually doing something from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about what it looks like for Keelan's heart to be unleashed in this world.
I just want to be able to connect people using magic, and now I'm adding a little bit of comedy to my shows, and just bring people together. It's amazing to look out into a crowd and see a lot of diversity and know that I brought all these people together for one night. It doesn't matter where you're from, who you are. And it's cool because it's like, again, I come from a small town, we came from the same place. And it's like, you can push through and say, you know what? I'm not giving up, and neither can you. So run with this.
Yes. And I really love, because I've enjoyed watching the way that your magic has taken you to Vegas and on tour. There's your heart. Like, I believe anyone's heart unleashed, it may be within the structure of a family setting, a community, a state, a country, and the world. Like, it doesn't really matter how far you think your one hand, like your heart, your hands, your eyes, your mouth reach. There's that ripple effect. And witnessing what you've been doing and the way that you're doing it has just been really, really inspiring as well, to say, hey, no matter where you come from, what you do, how you do it, what industry you're in, you can be inspiring and inspire people to follow their own passions. What would you love to say to somebody who is really reaching and trying to expand their unleashed heart?
I'm going to tell you the most opposite thing you'd ever think. It's going to throw you off, but when you do it, you're going to go, whoa. And if you think about it in a way of taking a vacation from your job, it's going to make sense. Literally step back, and everything you've been doing to work on your business, stop doing, and just focus on you as yourself as a person. Make sure that you're feeling all right, because that time away, the little things that you've been working on, that you get blinded by certain things that are already just in front of you, but you can't see it because you're just too focused on one thing.
Yes.
Take a step back, focus on yourself, go, hey, am I doing okay? How's mom? And just focus on that, do it for a couple of days, a week, and then come back to what you're doing. And then you're going to go, why was I struggling so hard at this? So it gives you a little time to kind of, it's literally one of those things where it's just, you're too into it. You just got to like relax and just, even try something new, get out of your element, try something new, come back and just attack it again.
Yes, I love it. Makes me so happy that that's your tip to everybody because, like, I try to say it all the time. It's really nice to have some third party validation right now, but like, you're right, and you said it well. Is do it a couple days a week, right? I too love to go 7 days strong, focusing on my business. And you're right about the blinded effect that it has. And so, oh my God, it'll be 7 p.m. I'm like, I haven't breathed outside air today. I've been writing all day. I've been on the phone. I got to go stretch. I got to go get to the beach. And so it's such a great tip. And it feels very counterintuitive. It's like, if I'm focused on my business, why would I walk away from my business? However, last year I did Disappearing December. I just spent 10 days offline completely at a 10-day silent retreat, and my business is growing better than ever because I'm focused on my health and well-being and how I can act. Like, I feel so ready to show up to the world. So I'm sure, like, what you're sharing, how am I? How's mom? How's life? Great tip. And what a great way. So how can people follow you, check out your YouTube channel, maybe come to a show? What does that look like?
All right, so I have my Facebook. Most of my social media is at Magic of Keelan. So it's Keelan. And then I have my own website. It should be wix.com/Magic of Keelan. So you can see kind of like where most shows are at. But between Facebook and I usually do my stories on Instagram that tells my upcoming shows, and my website. There's that. And then the YouTube, where you're going to probably see most of the cool stuff happening, the kind of behind the scenes. I like to make my YouTube more than just magic. I want to make it more of like, hey, we're traveling here, and what's it like to travel as an entertainer? Yeah. So, or just things going on in life that you guys don't really see. It's kind of like behind the stage, behind the street magic. So you get street magic, but you also get like personal life where it's like, hey, this is what's going on. But my YouTube is The Magic of Keelan Wendorf, so it's my full name. Mm-hmm. And again, you can just Google The Magic of Keelan, and I'm sure it'll pop up. Yeah. And I usually have it linked.
Yeah, we'll also be linking everything in the show notes for you too. Yeah. Perfect. So then that way people will be able to go click, 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 and here I am. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for all that you do. You bring magic. Like, honestly, magic's fun in the way that it's lighthearted, and it's, it just really, it takes people out of the reality in that way that comedy does too. It's a couple hours break from whatever they might be worried about and stressed about, and they get to have someone entertain and surprise and delight them. And so thank you.
No problem. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Awesome. And hearts, you guys, you are magic as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for letting us pour into your hearts and bring some magic into your life today. Thank you for tuning into the Hearts Unleashed podcast, where we are turning dreamers into doers.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hearts Unleashed podcast. We hope you found all the inspiration that you needed today and that you use it to take the next inspired action on your dreams. If you loved the show, share it with a friend. We love spreading the love. For more information, to listen to more episodes, or to shop Hearts Unleashed, head over to heartsunleashed.com. See you next time, Hearts.